My name is Randy Howell, and you're listening to the Faith and Fishing Podcast.
Welcome to the Faith and Fishing Podcast, where every episode I'll bring you an interview with a member of the fishing community, and they'll be sharing their faith stories and fishing memories with you. I'm your host, Cam Steele. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
And I'm Robert.
Yep, and we've got an awesome episode this week. We've got another North Carolina angler. This time he's from the western part of the state. We had the eastern part of the state represented last week, so this week we're representing the western side of things. Just a couple quick housekeeping things. I'm going to be on daddy duty for a couple more episodes, so y'all bear with me in case I duck out. That's the reason. Wanted to give another big shout out to Omnia Fishing. So yeah, you can find the links to my profile and Robert's profile, the ambassador profiles there. So they have an awesome ambassador program. Robert, tell us a little bit about your ambassador stuff there.
Yeah, sure. I think I have 16 reports that are on there, and it's all mostly local lakes from North Carolina, but I did put reports on there from the Hobie BOSs that I did this year. So Toledo Bend's on there, Santee Cooper, Susquehanna River. I did include those in there. But you can go check those out, check mine out, check Cam's profile out. And then when you find some baits you want, you can use the FNF15 to get 15% off. So you guys check it out, support them. It's a great program. You can even, do your own fishing reports and start earning money towards tackle. That's the cool part about it is anybody can do that. Go out, catch some fish, post your pictures up there, do your fishing reports, and start earning some tackle.
Yeah, so the way that works is if somebody looks up your lake and clicks on your report and then buys something that you recommend that the fish were biting that day, you get credit for it. So it's a pretty awesome program. Their shipping is super fast, and that just means that they get it out the door fast. It's still in the hands of the Postal Service once it leaves there. I placed an order last week, and I was watching the tracking, and it got to Raleigh, North Carolina, and then all of a sudden it was in Roanoke, Virginia, and then all of a sudden it was in Atlanta, Georgia. So I was looking at the tracking history this morning, and it's all over the place. So I don't know if I'm ever going to see that box, but
that's your luck. Mine got here in like 2 days.
Yeah, my first order was super fast too.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's not Omnia, that's the Postal Service. But yeah. So before we jump into the episode, I did want to remind everybody, make sure you like and subscribe and review the podcast. If you're listening on iTunes or on Apple Podcasts, whenever you click the stars and give us a rating and a review, the algorithm on iTunes and Apple Podcasts that helps others find us. So if you are wondering how you can support the store, or not the store, the podcast, you can buy something from the merch store, or you can go and give us a rating and a review. That helps out a lot. So that is all I have, I think, for the housekeeping stuff. Robert, you got anything?
No, man, that's it.
Awesome. Well, let's duck out for just a second, and then let's get our guest introduced. Atollas, based out of Charleston, South Carolina, is an eyewear accessory and gear company focused on enhancing your time on the water. Their floating sunglass retainers are the most technically advanced around. Over 5 years of engineering, testing, and exhaustive feedback from paddlers, anglers, and watermen have resulted in a patented design in a class of its own. They're incredibly light and comfortable, built for durability, sport a sleek, minimal design, float virtually all brands and models of sunglasses, and they're backed for life. So if you break them, Atollas will replace them. No questions asked. Whether you're fishing, kayaking, or boating, Atollas will save your shades from the dream. head on over to atollas.co to check out their gear and use promo code faithnfish15. That's faith, the letter N, fish, the number 1, 5 at checkout to save 15% on your order. Whether you're a Ned Rig vet or a finesse fishing noob like me, Jade's Jigs is your source for high-quality finesse jigs that raise the bar by being lead-free. Using a tin bismuth alloy not only makes Jade's Jigs eco-friendly, it also makes the jig lighter so you get the same profile with less weight for the fish to feel. Check out jadesjigs.com, that's JADESJIGS.com, to see their full lineup of jigs, styles, and colors. And since you're a Faith and Fishing listener, you can save 10% on your order by using promo code FNF10 at checkout. All right, so this week we have another bait maker on. This time, it's Jackie Hughes from Risen Sun Custom Lures and Risen Sun Adventures. And that's SON, not SUN. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so I was thinking about it today, and I think I was introduced to Risen Sun whenever I was so I was excited. I was going to go to this past year's big what's it called? The big
The fishing show.
The expo at the at here in Raleigh, and Risen Sun was I think on the list as one of the vendors, and I wasn't able to go, but I had them down as somebody that I needed to make sure that I went up to and talked to and got to know. So I'm excited about this episode because now I get to talk to and get to know a little bit about Jackie Hughes. Jackie, man, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. So to get us started off, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us who Jackie Hughes is?
All right. My name's Jackie Hughes. I've been pretty much fishing for kayak tournaments for about probably 8 or 9 years. Started painting lures pretty much on a fluke. I mean, I was goofing off. A buddy of mine had painted up a lure. I seen it online, and me and him was talking. And I said, I've got a hairbrush. I said, I'm going to try something. And I had found a lure on the side of the bank, and I took it out, painted it up. And next thing I know, somebody had texted me and said, hey, man, you paint lures? I'm like, no, never done it in my life. Can't even draw. And they were like, you need to start painting lures. So at that point, I started painting lures. I look at some of the stuff that comes out of my airbrush and wonder, Lord, how in the world did this come out? I can't, like I said, I can't draw a stick figure, but I have made a bunch of lures. I never thought it would actually go as far as it did. It is Risen Sun and the SON. And a lot of people say, well, why do you have Risen Sun? And my theory behind that was, in fishing, you have a lot of individuals that you may be the only Jesus that they ever see. And I wanted to give them the opportunity that every time they mentioned my product, that they were always giving glory to the one who died for us. And they were always making note that he was a risen son. So that's how it came about. I pretty much thought of the name, Ryan Brenneman with Hook Sets with Ryan. He's the one that came up with my logo, and we put it together, and here we are. I mean,
that's awesome. Yeah, I've got your Facebook pulled up here, and I kind of was scrolling through some of the baits here. Some awesome paint jobs, man.
Yeah, they're cool looking.
I noticed. I don't know that I've ever seen a logo on a crankbait before, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I do some of those. I did one for Ryan that's actually got his Hook Sets with Ryan on it. I did one for his wife, a friend of hers was a teacher, and I did their school logo on it for her on a Whopper Plopper. And yeah, I'll throw some of them out there sometimes. And
that's one of my favorite colors right there. So yeah,
that
if y'all are listening on the podcast, this one might be one you want to jump on the YouTube channel just to see some of the designs that he's got up here. But um, yeah, that's awesome. I didn't realize that you did more than just crankbaits.
I do crankbaits, I do Ned jigs. I mean, pretty much whatever anybody wants me to do, I'll try to tackle it. I have several people that we always have these little sites about pro staffs and stuff like that. And, I have guys that fish with my logo. Um, it's not a big thing. I supply them with things if they need it. If they need a bait painted, they need jigs or whatever, I'll supply that for them. Sometimes, I mean, Lord blesses me, I'll bless them with shirts and I'll buy them their jerseys. And, I just kind of mainly just support them emotionally, let them know that, hey guys, you're out there, you're important. And that's the big thing. A lot of times, some of these other sponsorships, they want the big names. They want the people who are winning the tournaments. And I sit back and people ask me all the time, well, you don't have big names underneath your label. And I always refer back as, when Jesus walked on the earth, he didn't come for the Pharisees. He came for the least of these. And he took those individuals and he used where they came from to show his glory. And that's what I want to do with Risen Son. I want to take the people who feel like they're not important. I want them to be important. I want them to feel important. And that's where I base Risen Son all about. It's just making someone feel important.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's exactly what. Well, number one, it's what the world needs, but it's great to hear somebody helping people, raise up and be the best versions of themselves. And we talk about it on this show all the time. A lot of times, men especially will hold things in, and it's good to have somebody there patting you on the back, telling you you're doing a good job, and I'm sure those anglers appreciate that support. That's awesome.
I mean, I try to, I mean, work in law enforcement pretty much all my life. Ever since I've been out of high school, I've done something with public safety. I was a fireman, I was a paramedic, I've been a policeman, and been a Department of Homeland Security immigration officer. So I've pretty much done it all. I always said when I retired, I was going to become a trash collector. That way I've done it all. But I joke about that. But I just, through life, you always sit back and you wonder, where God has you and what He has you doing. I know that earlier you asked a question about when I posted up on Facebook about how I was going to step away from Risen Sun Custom Lures. And sometimes in our life we get bogged down. We feel like that what we're doing is really just a little thing, is a limited thing. And when I did step down, I was going to step out. I would have still painted, just a goof and all. But I got so much support coming in, and people, with crying faces, just the little emojis. And I realized that maybe that's not what Risen Sun is, not just all painting. It's about the encouragement. And if I was to step away from that, where would the encouragement be? So that's why I'm back, and I'll probably never ever go nowhere anymore unless the Lord takes me home.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. I didn't get to the point where I felt like I needed to step down, but I was getting pretty close to some significant burnout with the podcast, and that's why I started reaching out and saying, "Hey, y'all, I need a co-host," and that's why we brought Robert in to breathe a breath of fresh air in and help me out, and it's been awesome. I look at it now. I'm like, how in the world did I ever do this without a
It's tough.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how much we put into this. I mean, as far as the YouTube channels and just the painting. I mean, it's like they always want to come to me during the summertime and they want me to paint. And I'm like, this is when I usually fish. And they're like, well, why don't you do this during this? And I said, I have an 8x12 building. It has no air conditioning in it. It's 900 degrees outside. And you want me to go out there and you want me to paint, or you want me to pour lures where I'm going to have to take another 700-degree oven, turn it on, and melt it. I said, this is crazy. I said, so ask me this stuff during the wintertime when it's cold. And so they kind of understand a little bit now. It's not as bad painting, but it is when you go out there and pour those lures, and that it's hot. My son will come out there and I'll be pouring sweat, and he's like, you all right? I'm like, nah, I think so. I see 4 or 5 people right now, but I'm okay.
Yeah, so tell us about the YouTube channel a little bit. So I wanted to get the lowdown on Risen Sun Custom Lures and Risen Sun Adventures.
Risen Sun Adventure started once again. I was encouraged by Ryan. He was out there doing it. And he said, man, you ought to do this too. You got to try it. So I knew nothing about editing. I knew nothing about it, but just like anything else, you jump on YouTube and you just start studying. You start going to town at it. And I started learning. Got a program. I used DaVinci Resolve. And everybody says, why do you use that? It's one of the hardest programs. Well, it was free, but still it's a good program. But
I like DaVinci Resolve.
I just started filming, and the first time I ever filmed, I went out to Moss Lake. I was filming. I went all the way around this lake, hadn't caught a fish, not one fish. So I called Ryan up and I said, hey man, I'm out here and I'm fishing. I'm not catching any fish. What do I do? He says, start talking about the lures. You got to start talking about what you're doing. He said, people, that's what they want. And I'm like, a lot of my videos, sometimes the Lord didn't allow me to catch any fish. He just allowed me to do great videos. And I'm like, these people don't want to see me paddle around the lake all the time. So every once in a while I'll catch some fish, but most of the time it's just out there just enjoying the time. And then I got into doing my truck and started doing some of that stuff, and now people love that. But it's just my adventures, dealing with people, dealing with the buddies that I go out and fish with. But yeah, he started that for me. He encouraged me. We started the Risen Sun. We made the logo. And, I mean, I have a lot of. He's my buddy. I have to say, my friends are the ones that keep me going.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting when you start looking at the analytics and stuff on your on videos, or at least my videos. And that's one thing that I struggle with, especially if I'm filming a tournament video. I am not thinking about like telling the story. So, it's a lot of me just fishing. And then every once in a while I'll remember like, oh yeah, I need to put some color on this and explain what I'm doing. But 9 times out of 10, if you look at your analytics where you're talking, it doesn't matter whether you're catching a fish or not, but when you're talking and you're sharing your experiences, that's when the people are watching. And a lot of times when you're fishing, and sometimes even on fish catches, that's the lower part. If you have good narration on your videos and stuff, that's the stuff that people will not click off of or fast forward through, because they want to hear those parts of it. And that's one thing that I struggled with, is like, I've got tons of footage that, because I didn't catch fish, I didn't think was any good. But, it's sometimes it's the opposite. So it sounds like you've got that down pat.
So I work on it. I just got a new arsenal that's fixing to be shown, and I just graduated yesterday. I got my drone pilot's license. So passed that test, probably one of the most hardest tests I've ever taken in my life. Passed that. So now we're going to have some drone footage that'll be able to be shared on the channel. So I'm looking forward to that after I get a little comfortable flying that drone, because it's scary.
Yes, it is. It is. I have a DJI Mini 2, and I've gotten to where I can land it on the front hatch of the kayak. But I swear it is one of the most nerve-wracking things that you will ever do, is trying to land a drone on the front hatch of a kayak.
You are very brave.
So far, so good. But I've seen some clips where others weren't so lucky. So I'm sure my day's coming.
Oh, the first time that I had mine, we don't read instructions, so I took it out to the park, and I'm out there flying it, real hesitant, and I'm just hovering it right over top of me, about probably 8 or 9 feet, just at eye level. So I bring it back to me, and I'm standing right where it's going to land. So I hit the return to home button, and I'm thinking, okay, it's just going to start powering down at the end of this 10 seconds, and then it'll land right there. Well, after 2, 1, I never heard the engines go zzz. I heard them go zoom, and it was gone. And I was like, oh, where's that? Where's that? Well, it climbs to 400 feet, and then it'll come down, because if it's out somewhere, it's going over to the highest point, so you're not going to run into trees or whatever. But I didn't know that, and I didn't know how to get it turn it off. I didn't know, so yeah, that scared me to death. But I went to this drone class, and it's kind of given me a lot more confidence in flying it. Kind of know the rules a little bit, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting out there doing it. But I would probably never land mine on my kayak. I've got some feet that go on mine that float.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm like, no, I just can't do it.
That's awesome. Well, man, I wanted to dive into your faith too, man. So it kind of give us the lowdown on your faith story. What is it that you believe? How did you come to believe in that, man?
Well, I was brought up in church all my life. Went through my mother and my dad. My dad, he wasn't a believer for the longest. When I actually got married and moved out, I finally got to see him accept Christ. I actually bought him his first Bible that he ever had, and I reckon my aunts and uncles pretty much had me in church all the time. My mother did go to church, but my aunts and uncles kept me in church pretty much all the time. And as I continued through my life, I'm kind of, sometimes I sit and think I'm lucky to be here. I was a runaway when I was younger. Lived out of a Ford Pinto for a long time, and really nobody even knew it. All the way through, pretty much through high school, living there with my friends, bumping back and forth, and seen a lot of stuff. And I always wonder why God allows you to go through certain things. And when I got on at the sheriff's office, a lot of things that I dealt with at the sheriff's office were young people who were having a hard time. And I believe that a lot of our troubles in life are based on our own self-esteem. I think that's where I get off with encouraging people, because I see people and I wonder if their self-esteem was higher, if they would have chose a different path. I tell people all the time in the jail, because that's where I work, and I ask them, what caused you to go this way? What caused you to go that way? A lot of them blame stuff on their past, and I tell them a story about my past. And when I get through, they always ask. They say, "Well, what happened to that guy?" And I always tell them that's me. And you just see the tears running down their face, and they're like, "Wow." I said, you're the one that can control your life. You have to trust in God. You got to put your faith in Him, and He'll see you through it. He's going to give you the opportunities to make the choices, and you've got to make the right choices. But as I went through those times and working in the jail and seeing those people who were dealing with the hardships, a lot of people were dealing with suicidal issues and stuff of that nature. And I often wondered, what are you preparing me for that? Probably in about 2012, it all came to fruition why I was dealing with that and why I learned to deal with that, because it hit home. I had to respond to a house, and when I got there, or when I was on the way there, I realized that the house that I was going to belonged to my dad, and my dad had committed suicide. So it was those times that you really have to hold tight to that faith, and you really have to reach out. And when you feel like that the world's kicking your teeth in, you have to remember that God's there to pick you up. And He's picked me up a lot of times. And I thank the Lord that He picks me up a lot. I know one time I like to write, and if you follow me on Facebook, you'll notice that I write a lot of things. Sometimes I just sit down here at the computer and I'll lay something on me and I'll just start typing. Somebody asked me one time during a tournament if I had brought him with me, and I was like, huh? And it finally, probably a day or two later, I realized what they were asking, and I typed up something that said, a lot of times people think, or they ask, did you bring him with you? He's always there. He was with that person who even asked. But sometimes they don't see it. And like I said, we're the only ones that they see. There's times where I've wanted to step out of tournament fishing. I'm like, this is crazy. I've been doing this for 7 years and never won a tournament ever. And I'm like, why do I do this? This is crazy. I said, they talk about insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again with the same outcome. And sometimes I get humble, and the Lord says, that's not what I'm out. You're not out there to catch the fish. You're out there to catch the people. And then I went to another group and fishing with them, and Lord, I won my first tournament. And so that was pretty awesome. But times move you on. So we'll see what happens with this journey.
That's an awesome story, man. It's awesome to see how God how God can take somebody who is who it seems like no matter what you go through, I've heard a lot of different testimonies on this podcast, and it's like everybody who's got that Damascus Road experience wishes that they were the ones who don't really have a testimony. They grew up in church and everything was perfect, and the people who grew up in church and everything was perfect don't really have a testimony. Wishes they had that big rock bottom experience and everything. And it's like, it's just awesome to, like, no matter how different all of these testimonies are, it's awesome to just hear how God uses you right where you are. No matter like what you've gone through, He can use that. And it's just awesome to hear, your story as one that kind of been through a little bit of everything, and it's just an awesome story, man.
Yeah. And every time that I tournament fish, I think, why in the heck am I doing this? So you're not alone in that. that thought is every time. And I think a lot of it too, and we talk about this a lot, it is like I enjoy the fellowship of it just as much as the fishing part. And there are some tournaments that I've done decent in. But most of the time I'm at the middle or towards the bottom. And you know what? That's okay, because you get out there on the water and share some experiences and meet some people. And, I think that's more what it's about for most people that are out there. Not that everybody that's out there is trying to win, don't get me wrong, as well as myself, but the bigger picture of it. And I feel like this is a lot of kayak anglers. The bigger picture of it is meeting new people and sharing those times. And maybe it's around the campfire or, at the ramp before or after, or those times on the water where you are close enough to have conversations. And that's what it's all about.
That's exactly. I mean, I've had anglers come up and say, man, you just let me roll right up and you can fish right beside me. You can throw right underneath my boat. Fishing, I've always said fishing is 50-50. You could sit and be right beside me throwing the same thing. I could catch them and you not catch them. It happens. I've got a cousin that used to fish with me, and he was funny. I would be fishing and I'm catching fish, and he'd say, "What are you throwing?" And I'd be like, "I'm throwing a white fluke." "Oh, okay." And then I look over there and he's fishing. "What are you throwing?" "Oh, I tied on a black fluke." "I just told you I was catching them with a white fluke, but I was going to try the black one." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So it don't matter. Fishing is fishing. Just have a good time. I know I've heard people come in and um, they're like, "I went in this cove and this guy was in there and they blessed me out." And we take it too serious, I think, sometimes. And I think the tournaments are there, and I've always said that we always mix it up. A lot of times we always hear that one verse. They always say that money is the root of all evil, and I always tell people, y'all always you mess that up. You forget that first word. Forget the love of money is the root of all evil. And I said, and when we start seeing those bigger purses and we start seeing those things, that we lose focus on the people that are around us, and we lose focus on what God's given us. People ask me all the time. I got 2 bass boats that sit out in my yard that I got from my father, and people say, "You don't fish out of them?" And I'm like, I would rather fish out of my kayak because it's slower. I can stop. I can relax. I can see what's out there, and I don't miss anything. And I just have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. That the kayak is definitely, just being closer to the water and, like you said, being able to slow down and see all the things that are around you. And I feel like in a bass boat, a lot of times you'll miss stuff going from A to B. You'll go from this spot to that spot. Oh, we didn't catch anything here. Let's run over here. And you didn't see that bald eagle that was flying over, or you didn't see, the beaver that, scared the crap out of you because he comes up beside you and smacks his tail because you're in his area. And those are the things that make the trip, is seeing those things.
Or the alligator at Santee Cooper. I think when I fished Santee Cooper the first time, I don't remember really fishing because the place was just so surreal that, I mean, I sit and thought, I'm out here in a 14-foot piece of plastic that's 4 inches off the water, and there's alligators the size of my kayak. I'm like, I'm crazy. This is crazy. But it is just so surreal just to see the stuff out there. That is one neat place to fish.
It is definitely. It is. Yeah, I didn't really do well at all the weekend that I fished that this year, but I will say that it's some of the coolest water that I've ever fished. I mean, just the trees, and there's one spot where there's an old riverboat that's broken down. That, I mean, the fog is rolling past it, and it's, I mean, right out of the daggone horror movie is what that thing is.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Ryan, I think Ryan caught 2 big old fish off of that boat.
Yeah, I tried. I threw it all under it, and that dock that it stays on, and I figured there had to be some big ones laying up under it, but I didn't have any luck on it.
I know when we went out one time and I had forgotten my board, so I was trying to go back, or I forgot the keys. I forgot what I forgot. But Tori was fishing with us, Ryan's wife, and as I'm going back, I hear her holler. Well, I'm thinking she's talking to an alligator because she's wanted to see an alligator the whole time. And when we got back, she'd caught a big fish. And it was like probably 20, 21 inches, something like that. I mean, it was big. And when I got over there, we were talking with her. I said, "Where did you catch it?" She said, "Underneath the sign." And me and Ryan was like, "What sign?" She said, "There's a sign over there that says fish here." And we were like, "Dude, what?" And there's a sign. If you go around, it's got like this little caution thing on it, and it says fish here.
Huh.
Arrow pointing down. And I was like, "Really?" She caught it at the fish here sign. But yeah, those are memories that you'll take forever and take away with you forever.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's awesome. So what are you fishing out of, man?
I fished out of a Hobie Pro Angler 14. That was a
Nice.
blessing. I had found it. It was out towards Beaufort, North Carolina, and it was damaged on the rear end, and it was brand new. And they said, if you come get it, and you can fix it, you can have it for $2,000. I was like, I've been down there to get it, and I fixed it.
Hey, that's an awesome deal.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
it was a great deal, and it's kicked a lot of traveling. It has kicked a lot of traveling.
Awesome. Man, there are a couple questions that we make sure we ask everybody um, whenever they come on the show. So I want to make sure that we get your answers too. So whenever let's see, what fishing story or memory means the most to you?
Mm, Fishing story that means the most to me would probably be um, fishing with my dad, fishing on the boat, and I'm sitting here looking at his picture now with him and my son catching a crappie. That was one of the things that we always did when we fished with them, is we caught crappie. Um, I think after he passed away, the first time I caught a crappie was on High Rock Lake, and that'll always be the memory that I have. That was the first crappie that I caught on the boat, because that's how I remember him, was out crappie fishing. He was a fisherman. Him and his brother together. Picture that I'm looking at is actually, it's me, him, his brother, and my grandson. All of us with crappies in our hands. That's 5 generations.
That's awesome.
Yeah, crappie fishing is a fun pastime. I mean, you can sit there and have some good conversations, and it's definitely I've enjoyed it many a day. So when you're out on the water, what is your normal conversation like? What are you talking about?
Pretty much we just goofing off, mainly just talking about what we're doing out there, how we've done during the week, what we're pretty much day to day, just day to day stuff. We don't really have a set based conversation. I can sit and talk to the wall. My wife always laughs if Walmart ever put uh, a limitation on how many times you could come there, I'd probably go crazy. It's like the little waiter, the woman at the thing today. She was like, "You've been in here 6 times a day." I said, "I know, I love this place." She said, "You come up here all the time when you're off." I said, "I know." I said, "That's where I spend all my money." But yeah, I just love to talk to people. I'm a people person.
That's awesome. That was my granddad, my granddaddy Williams to a T. He would be out there. He loved going to Walmart, and he would walk up to somebody and just start talking. And it was like it was a skill that never really rubbed off on me very well. Um, like I have no problems like starting a conversation with a stranger, or like, I can hold my own and stuff, but keeping the conversation going, that small talk, the gift of gab, being able to stand there and talk about nothing for hours on end, that is something I have never been able to master.
So I can just sit and talk. I'll see people out on the boat ramp, and we'll sit and talk. And um, actually had a guy. I was fishing a monthly tournament like last month. Is actually going to be on one of the videos that I've got. But I'm paddling back to the ramp, and you got this big old Gilligan's Island boat out there in the middle of the water. 72-year-old man on it, and I kind of roll up on him. I said, "Hey, you all right?" He said, "Yeah, it's just dead in the water." So he's trying to call the boat taxi or whatever they are, and he can't get them. It's gonna be 2 hours for them to come get him. And I was like, "You got a rope?" He's like, "Yeah, well, what you got in mind?" And I said, "Tie it to the front of your boat." And I said, "No, I'll drag you back to the ramp." He said, "In what?" I was like, "In this kayak." So I hooked him up, and I was holding it, and I was pedaling backwards, and he was like, "We're moving." I said, "Of course you're moving." I said, "I'm pedaling you back." I made it back halfway until his engines cooled off, and he cranked it back up. And he was like, "Dude, I've never had anybody." And there's people passing us. And heard one people pass, and I'm like, "Look at that kayak pulling that boat." And I'm thinking, "Really, you're not going to stop and help?" But yeah, those are times, and that's probably that man he'll never forget that. Never.
Yeah,
You won't either.
Yeah, and I won't either.
Yeah, I'm glad it was only halfway. I'm glad he got it cranked back up. So
For sure. Well,
Yeah, it wasn't far, but I just pedal. He was like, I said, once I got you moving, I'm rolling.
yeah,
He's like, "Dude, I've never seen anybody before." He said, and he got back to the ramp, and when I got back, he was like, "Now where's the engine at on that thing?" And I was like, "That's
you're
me.
looking at it.
It's just my pedals right here." And I showed him. He was like, "You are pedaling?" I said, "Yeah." That wouldn't be the first one. We pulled one in one time with paddles. I had him hooked to the back of my kayak, and I was paddling and pulled him right into the dock. So I'm a big boy. I'm not a small fella.
That's awesome. Well, man, there are with all of our guests, we do a segment called "What's Your Favorite." It's self-explanatory. We'll ask you your favorite in a few different categories, and we're going to go ahead and jump into that, and we'll do that right after this.
Savior Outdoors gives me confidence that no matter what happens, what I take on the water is coming back home with me. With retrieval devices for fishing rods, bow fishing bows, action cams, and even one that can be attached to your other gear, they've got your whole arsenal covered. When one of these devices goes in the drink, it releases a float attached to your gear by 60 feet of line so you can get it back, and the pressure-sensitive filter means that you don't have to worry about rain or dips in the water while landing a fish. At SaviorOutdoors.com, that's SAVUR Outdoors.com, you can use promo code FNFP15 to save 15% and try them for yourself.
All right, Robert, you want to get us started off here?
yeah, man. Well, Jackie, what's your favorite scripture?
Favorite scripture. I reckon the cheesiest one, and everybody would probably say, "Well, that's," but it'd have to be John 3:16, because it showed me a lot when I was younger. No matter what we've done, where it says, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life." And without that, we have nothing. We have nothing to hold on to. We can have all the faith in the world, but without the blood, we have nothing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's there's a reason that's the one that gets hammered into everybody, and that's the one that is asked of everybody to have memorized and everything. I call it the thesis statement of the Bible. Like it's got the whole message of the gospel in 2 sentences.
Yes.
It does.
Oh, it's on me. We usually go in the other order.
I was going to go ahead and roll into it.
We usually go in the opposite order, and then I decided to switch things up. Sorry about that. What about your favorite story from the Bible?
The favorite story in the Bible would have to be what I just wrote on the other day was David and Goliath. I was sitting at the computer going through all the struggles that I had been going through in the past couple of months with some family issues. It brought back giants, and reflected back on the giants in our lives and how David, little old David, was the underdog, and the giant would come out, the Philistine giant would come out, look down in the valley, and he would taunt him, and David took those stones, went out there, and with the faith of the Lord stood there and defeated the giant. And it's what I put in that writing, is that if we look at those things that we face, um, they may be giants in our life, but if we um, put our faith in God, that He'll get us through those giants, and He'll help us defeat them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
David and Goliath.
yeah, that's a great story. That's one of my favorites too. The next favorite question is, once you've got a fish hooked, what is your favorite fish to reel in or catch? So, what is that fight that you look forward to?
I'd have to say a spot. Spots are mean.
Yeah.
I caught my first smallmouth the other day at Lake James, and it fought pretty good, but it wasn't a big one. I'd like to catch a big one, but a spot is just mean. I mean, you can catch a spot that's 8 inches, and you think you've got a monster on there, and then you pull him up, and he's just a little dinker, and you're thinking, my goodness, this guy. And then if you look and you throw the whopper plopper out there, and the whopper plopper's bigger than he is. So you're sitting there like, man, these things are crazy.
Yes.
But yeah, getting those spots, those are fun.
Yeah, those late Norman spots have fooled me many a times. So, yeah.
Yeah.
They're the meanest too. Lake Norman spots are mean.
Yeah, agreed.
And since last week we had a saltwater guy on, we might have some new saltwater listeners. I should clarify that's a spotted bass and not a spot. The croaker or little drum family member that's excellent to eat out on the inshore side. But yeah. So what about your favorite fish to fish for?
Well, since the only ones I've ever fished for were crappie and bass, I'd say probably bass now. Like I said, before I started tournament fishing, I had never caught anything with the artificial bait. I was like, how in the world can a fish bite artificial bait? Then when I started fishing tournaments, that's all we could fish with. So I'd go out and practice with a piece of plastic, and lo and behold, I don't think I've picked up a live bait in 8 or 9 years. I mean, it's just, but yeah, the bass are, I just can't imagine why they would want to eat something that's not even eatable.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the most fun part, is to trick those things into biting something that's not real. So that chess game is, I think, what keeps us all hooked on that. What about to eat? What's your favorite fish to eat?
I would have to say to eat would be crappie. When my dad was alive, we would catch them and cook them up. Now, that's a good eating fish.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How do you like yours cooked?
We take it and you put it in the batter and you deep fry it and pull it out. Just put a little bit of ketchup on it. Take it on down.
A ketchup man.
I'm a ketchup man. I eat ketchup on everything.
I hear you. Well, that might bleed over into the next question. Then, what's your favorite fishing snack?
Favorite fishing snack?
You bring a bottle of ketchup on the kayak with you.
No, I don't bring a bottle of ketchup on the favorite fishing snack would probably be jerky.
Good choice.
Yeah.
You have a particular flavor or brand?
It's got to be hot. I usually make it myself, usually from deer jerky, and it's got to be hot. If it ain't hot, it's just not there.
I hear you.
Me and my son, we like to do hot challenges, and we eat a lot of hot. Sometimes I think we're crazy, but we eat some hot stuff. Then one of the guys that I work with, me and him are always trying to kill each other. We've eaten the Reaper, the hottest pepper, I think that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. But it was hot. I think after I ate that pepper, I ate a whole big old family size can of ravioli just to kind of cool my mouth off.
Man.
Will I do it again? Never. Never again.
Well, what about your favorite body of water to fish? What's your favorite lake or river?
I like Norman. I spend a lot of time at Little Creek. That's pretty much and the reason I like Norman, it's a good fishery, but the ramps, I know I go to Little Creek a lot, but I don't like I've had my truck broken in one time before, and it's kind of like it's a feeling that you just never can get away from. It's like being violated, and I go out there and I don't have any worries. I just relax, and I can go out there and fish. Norman's so big too. There's been places I probably not even fished.
Yeah, it is huge, for sure.
Absolutely, man. And what about your favorite lure to throw?
Favorite lure to throw? Probably have to be the shaky head. Shaky head on a trick worm, a Zoom trick worm.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, when I throw my baits, I mean, if I catch one on mine, it's just ecstatic. I don't think I've ever. The reason I started pouring jigs is because I didn't like to lose my jigs. So I thought, well, if I pour them myself, I don't feel so bad if I lose it. And John Ladd had always told me the only way you catch a fish with a jig is to throw it in the junk. And I'm like, how do you throw it in the junk? I mean, I watched him. He could throw it into a bush, and he could jig it out, and he just reel it back in. I throw it in the bush. I pull up the bush, the tree, everything that's hooked to it. I mean, it's all coming out. And I'm like, how do they do this? And I don't like snakes. Summertime, everybody laughs. Springtime, I'm not a bank fisherman. I'm not going to get near the bank. And if you, on my last video, the one that I'm fixing to post up pretty soon, I'm going up towards the bank to get my hook out of a rock. And I look down and it's a small snake, but it's still small. It's a snake. And it's got his head popped up under the rocks. And I almost break my rod trying to push off the bank to get back out of the water. Yeah, I don't like snakes.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I was catching fish on a dock. And I mean, I was catching some nice fish on the dock. And one of the guys I was fishing with, he just hollered out. He said, "Jackie, behind you." And I just started paddling. I was out. I was done. And he paddles right back. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm going to go around and fish." He said, "There wasn't nothing behind you. I just knew you should leave if I told you there was something behind you." So he ran to my fishing spot. Yeah, they know how to get me out of the way. Just holler snake, I'm out. I'm gone.
Yeah, come in and swiped your fishing spot, huh?
Swipe my fishing spot and laugh the whole time.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's a good one. And what about time of year? What's your favorite time of year to fish?
I would have to say springtime when they're biting. I learned a lot about summertime fishing in the past 2 months when I was fishing the 2 monthlies for foothills. Wintertime is fun. If you go to Norman, Little Creek at wintertime, you want to get right out there in that mouth and you can catch fish there, But you got to learn the deep stuff. It's a tactic you got to learn. And that's hard. Nobody wants to do that. You got to learn your optics and like the veins and all those guys. I mean, the hogs, Matt, and all of them. They'll tell you that's where they fish. They fish those deep waters during those times. We always want to fish the bank. We want to throw up underneath the docks. We want to throw, and I learned during the summertime you got to pull back out. You got to go out there and find the fish that's in the deep holes. And a little bit of slower time fishing, but it's something you learn, and that's what I tell people all the time. You got to go out and you learn. You learn something all the time while you're fishing.
Absolutely. And I'm going to throw a bonus question in here. What is your favorite pattern to paint?
Favorite pattern to paint would have to be a brim. I like fish. I like painting the brim colors. It's just more in depth, and I like to make it look like a brim. I've got some. I got now. This one I like the rock crawlers too. I like
Yeah, for
those.
sure.
Um, and but I like the brim. That one color that you liked. I'll have to get your address and get you one out there. So just make sure you send me something, and I'll get you one of those to you.
All right. Absolutely, man. Yeah, that the chartreuse crawl has always been a favorite of mine. I fish a lot of chocolate milk water, so um,
Uh,
those are those are
that's
always
a
good.
that takes a that takes a lot of fishing there to do. It's like Josh Sweeney and them that fish down in South Carolina. They fish that chocolate milk water.
Yeah, if you're fishing in central North Carolina, that's you don't have a choice. That's what you're fishing if you're going to go fishing. If you can see if you can see 6 to 8 inches, that's usually a good day.
Absolutely.
I need to learn how to fish that.
Me too.
I would be lost if you put me on clear water, man. I wouldn't know
Yeah.
how to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So we're gonna start winding down. If you would let us know what's coming up next for you and for Risen Sun Adventures and Risen Sun Custom Lures.
Well, we'll start back painting, and we'll start back kind of getting some stuff stocked back up as far as the lead and stuff when the wintertime kind of gets back in there. Risen Sun Adventures, we're going to start seeing some drone footage out there. Probably going to do some stuff where I go out with some other people and just kind of film them. And um, I mean, like I said, my channel is more about just everybody, not just me. I could go out and take another angler and just film them. I love watching people catch fish. If I catch fish, it's a bonus. But I usually the joke is if I take someone out, they're going to catch fish. I'm not going to catch nothing. So I'm a great guide. I could have a guide service, but I just enjoy going out. We're looking forward to seeing what the drone's going to do once I get confidence. And if I ever get confidence landing on front of that kayak, I'll definitely let you know.
Yeah, you're gonna love some of the video that thing will produce, and I definitely haven't used mine enough, but every time I do, it's awesome video, and you can't go wrong with it. So I wish you all the best on that, and I can't wait to see the footage you get from it.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to doing it. I really am.
And I want to give you an open floor for sponsors, supporters, shout outs, anybody you want to say thank you to. The floor is yours.
All right. I'd just like to thank, like I said, Ryan Brenneman with Success with Ryan. I'd like to thank Queen City Kayak Bass Fishing. That's where I got my start, out fishing with those guys. All the guys from CKA, CCKF, Kayak Fishing with Christ. I was the North Carolina ambassador for them for a while until I just couldn't actually put in what I needed to put in to it that I felt like what God needed me to put into it. I couldn't do it 100%. And pretty much Richard May and one of my buddies that go fishing with me all the time, Gustavo Benitez. These guys have always been behind me. They help support Risen Sun Custom Lures. They shout me out all the time. Austin Bang, who just won the Bass, I think it was Bass Masters or something, where he's in North Carolina. He fishes with me. He fishes under my logo, so he gave me a nice shout out. So I'm proud of him and what he's going to accomplish in the upcoming season of bass.
Absolutely. And before we let you go, man, where can listeners find you? Where can they get a hold of some of your baits? Where can they watch your videos? All that good stuff.
You can go on to YouTube and catch me at Risen Sun Adventures. Yeah, it's the YouTube channel. And on Facebook, it is Risen Sun Custom Lures. Now you type it in and it'll pop up. I've been out there enough that it automatically pulls me up. If you Google it, you find me there. It's kind of amazing that my 13-year-old grandson is the one that kind of hooks me up with all this stuff and keeps me in line and tells me where these videos are coming in and how this is doing with the algorithms. So yeah, they teach you a lot. Those young.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jackie, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I thoroughly enjoyed
Thank you
it.
for having me. Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you for having me.
Heck yeah. That's a good one.
With 30 years of experience of handcrafting lures under his belt, Mr. B of Mr. B Lure Company is making high-quality spinnerbaits, buzzbaits, jigs, underspins, swim blades, and more right here in the U.S. All of his skirts are hand-tied, and all of his baits feature a baked-on powder paint, all metal components, and only Owner and Gamakatsu hooks. All of his baits come in a variety of colors, and if you purchase a bait in the Battle Shad color, 30% of the proceeds go to the Wounded Warrior Project. To see the quality for yourself, go to MrBLureCompany.com, that's MRBLureCompany.com, to place your order and use promo code FAITHPOD1X10 at checkout to save 10% on your first order. Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle in Greensboro, North Carolina offers a wide range of products and services designed to help protect the environment and enhance the time people spend enjoying the outdoors. With an expansive year-round inventory of kayaks, SUPs, bikes, kayak fishing accessories, paddling clothing, biking accessories, and more, Get Outdoors has established itself as one of the top paddle sports and biking shops in the Southeast. They also offer a wide range of kayak safety and technique courses to get you comfortable in your new boat. They'll even get it rigged up for you. Stop by the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or check them out at shopgetoutdoors.com.
Another huge thank you to Jackie for coming on the show and sharing his story with us, and sharing his just love of fishing and love of lure making with us. I will leave all of Jackie's links in the show notes so that you can go check him out. And that All Things Faith and Fishing link will also be there. Make sure you go check out the Omnia Fishing links for Robert and myself. Check out all of our sponsors. They'll be up there. Our merch store, our website, all that good stuff. Make sure you go check that out. Robert, man, another awesome episode. Thoughts?
Yeah. The one thing that comes to my mind in hearing Jackie talk about, the people that he fishes around and the people that have supported him, a lot of the Queen City crew he mentioned in there. And it really just leads me back to these clubs that we have in North Carolina. You got Queen City Kayak Bass Fishing out of Charlotte. You got the CCKF Central Carolina Kayak anglers or fishing in Raleigh and Central North Carolina, and then you have the CKA that is based out of Greensboro. And all of these clubs support their anglers, and all the anglers in there support each other and the people that are in the clubs. And it's not only in North Carolina. I mean, you can go listen to some of these other podcasts, and there are multiple clubs in all these different states. People fish different clubs, and it's just a really solid community. And that's the one thing that I kept thinking over and over when I was hearing him shout out the people that supported him, is just how this kayak community supports their anglers, and then the people that have the small businesses and podcasts and YouTube channels. It's really a close-knit group of people, and hopefully as we grow, we can keep that same feeling. And we do want to get new anglers in here. So if you're in North Carolina, check one of those clubs out. Reach out to me or Cam or Jackie if you have questions about any of those or want to learn how to get involved with it. let us know. So that was really the one thing that stuck out to me, was just the support that he has from the people he fishes with in his club.
Absolutely, man. Well, that is going to do it for this episode, y'all. Y'all take care, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Faith and Fishing podcast. Faith and Fishing is produced and hosted by me, Cam Steele, and is sponsored by Jade's Jigs, Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle, Savior Outdoors, Atollas, and Mr. B Lure Company. Be sure to give us a rating and a review, and to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care, and God bless.